Okay. I had a revelation, which is that I don't need to use the self-facing camera because it's cracked. Like, I'm sure that I'm in the frame, right? I can't see, but I think it's gonna go fine. So that's what I'm gonna do for now. This really is going to be a quick video because I don't have that much to say this evening. What's interesting is that I have today I had a strong paradoxical energy or flow of energies that kept moving back and forth between high key love and a little bit of anxiety, or a lot of anxiety. Not personally, I felt pretty even keel today, but as far as collective energies go. And I think that's cool. And I also think, well, it was something that I was basically told by my guides earlier today, which is that as people choose to watch or listen to these videos, the messages that I get will become more tailored to the audience that they're meant for, which is interesting and very cool. And what I've noticed is that I have about, I think 4 consistent viewers, which is really awesome. Honestly, it's really awesome to me at this point. And if you're one of them, then thank you, because I'm flattered. And it's, I obviously like to talk and explain things. I don't know if you've noticed. But maybe, you know, as a person would continue to listen to me talk, the things that I say will become more specifically and individually relevant or pertinent to you somehow. Sometimes I hear things like when I'm doing a channeled message or doing a card reading that feel like a response to something that somebody might think when they listen to this video later. If you kind of think about the space-time continuum as a navigable quilt that isn't linear, then you can see how that might be possible. As in, I could answer a question in the present moment that you have later when you're watching it, when I've already recorded the message. That's how those things work. Energy is very fluid. And so love and anxiety, interesting, different. A few things I wanted to say about it. I think I said something the other day around if something's really anxiety inducing, if it's a goal or something that you're yet to accomplish or yet to do, if it's anxiety inducing, you have doubts around your ability to successfully complete it. If it can create some type of excitement within you, then it means that you believe that you can do it. And I read something the other day, and I've read her work or posts out loud before in a video I did 2 weeks ago when I was in Italy, but it's Ashmi, ASHMI.path, P-A-T-H, on Instagram. I really like her stuff, and whenever I read it, I'm like, that's exactly what I got today. We just have different lenses on the collective experience, but you know, it's really cool whenever I have something that's echoed in the people around me, because I'm like, number one, I'm not crazy. Not that I'm at a point anymore where I fear that I might be, but it's validating to see that somebody else is picking up on the same exact energies, and it's cool and elucidating to see them talk about it in a different way than I would, because everybody's meant to talk about different things when it comes to one thing, which is why there's so many artists or musicians or makers or creators in any type of way, is because we're all able to speak on the thing that we'll never fully be able to fully, you know, articulate or put into. It's just the never-ending stream of inspiration or ability to channel from something that can't really ever be put into or represented by words or an art form. So what she was saying was, if you are trying to control something and force something to happen, then that shows that you don't actually believe that it's going to happen. If you knew that it was going to happen, and this is the analogy that everybody always uses, but if you ordered a meal at a restaurant, you wouldn't worry about the fact, you wouldn't go back to the kitchen to see did you get my order? Are you actually gonna make it? Are you gonna do you actually know what you're doing? You wouldn't be doing that. And that's sometimes what we can do with the things that we want to change or do in our lives, and that communicates doubt, which creates blockages. And I liked that. because it tied into what I was saying about like having anxiety or having a relaxed nature about the things that you're trying to do and create. And it doesn't mean that you don't take action towards the things that you're doing because they haven't formed yet. It just means that those steps that you take aren't done to prove or show anything. You don't expect anything immediately after each step, and after each step you take, you're not let down if things don't, break and give way, because you know that it all adds up. You know that this is the path that you're on, right? Again, with like the navigability of the space-time continuum, you see the reason why you have the vision in the first place is because when you have that moment, you see it into your future. You know that there's going to be step until you get to that end game. And in between, if you're anxious, it goes, it stretches out the time in between the present and the full realized manifestation of the picture or the project or the goal or the relationship or the dream in full. So I would read from that, but I'm using my phone this evening to do the recording. And so that was the first thing I wanted to share. The second one I've already forgotten, which is interesting, but it will come back if it's meant to. And then the third one was around fireflies, because that's it's one of my symbols that I've got in one of my tattoos. There's a little firefly on my right arm, and I saw a bunch of them this evening when I was walking, and I love the firefly season, the firefly time of summer. If this is the first video that you've watched of me, I'm very into semiotics, which is kind of the study of signs and symbols, but I kind of have my own invented version of it that I developed through being a studied patient of cognitive and dialectical behavioral therapy, because I used different little pictures and imagery to perform as mindfulness tools and help me remember things. Basically, one image or thing like an anchor or a kite or a firefly was a package that had an idea that could self-soothe me into being like, I'm in control of my reality and my emotions, and I don't have to go on this, this tangent or this cascade of bad choices or whatever it may be. And the firefly for me was about like, if you try to catch a firefly, which I did a lot when I was younger, I'll still do it. I'll still go firefly catching sometimes. I haven't done it in a few years, but it's not just for the kids. It's kind of fun to have a jar of fireflies and then set them free. But if you actively try to hunt them down, right, it's like in water, if you move through a school of fish, they're gonna disperse and flee from you. But if you sit in a field, fireflies will magically just kind of come up around you. And for me, the meaning with that was like, don't chase the goodness, be still. The goodness is already within you. The goodness is already happening. The goodness is a matter of perception. It's not about going anywhere else or yes, it's about doing other things. But how do you start doing other things? It all starts from a change in perception. A lot of the times people's actions, which are based on how people feel inside, that's all based on what people allow themselves to feel. And we live in a culture where a lot of people shut down any type of feeling, there's a lot of repressed emotional and other types of energy in the collective and in people at large today. And I think that if you're looking to change a way of doing things, it has to do with, sometimes people are like, I'm just going to move, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to go across to the other coast and start over. And then they find that oftentimes doesn't solve their problems, or a lot of people will think that it's not the right relationship and they'll end it and they'll start the same pattern with somebody else because of, attachment styles, right? Avoidant, anxious, secure. If you haven't healed what you need to heal within you, the energy that you brought to the previous relationship, it's the same energy you're going to bring to the next relationship. So the firefly for me is indicating, and then you're going to keep blaming your partners for not being the right, quote unquote one, when like you're your one. You're your one. If you're the right one, then you have a lot of options. I don't believe there's one person for everybody. I think that there's really good matches and really good chemistry, and there's different kinds of spiritual bonds and relationships out there, which I'm not sure that's my calling to go into all that or channel on that. Even though I talk about masculine and feminine energies and whatnot, it's kind of a different thing. But my point is, when you're in a healed space and you can be kind of in a personal heaven on your own, you'll attract really good people to you who could be really good matches for you. And if you can't really be alone and sit with yourself, then you're always going to manifest somebody who helps you play out your trauma dynamics that are unresolved. So, not chasing the firefly, sitting kind of in the darkness and watching how the world lights up around you, because they're everywhere. I mean, we can also just appreciate how magnificent it is that nature provided something that's so cool. Like all the fishes too, like the phosphorescent deep sea creatures that have like neon bioluminescence to them. Just any synergy of like electricity into the biology of the ecology, the animal kingdom, is mind-blowing to me. I find that stuff miraculous, right? It's the type of stuff that if you didn't know about it and you saw it for the first time, you'd be like, it's alien, it's magic. And we forget how magnificent and magical the world is, the natural world. And I see that within fireflies, because they're not the most attractive bug. They're kind of like random and homely, and they like, you might want to flick it off of you if one lands on you, but at night they possess a superpower, and the other bugs can't do what they do. The other bugs could never. There are, of course, a bunch of other types of meanings of firefly. I know in the Chinese mythology, they represent something romantic, right? Like a spark. And in other interpretations, not necessarily associated with any one culture, they can be like hope or, you know, good luck, like a light just kind of illuminating in the dark. But for me, for my purposes, for the fact that I saw them tonight tied in with what I want to talk about and bring through this evening, it's more so about like a patient quality, because the feelings, the energy that I was moving through today, a spectrum of like just feeling a lot of love for myself and for other people, and for the nature of I don't know, just my life, my hard efforts, people around me who do good things, just a lot of love moving through the atmosphere. And the opposite side of that being anxiety. It's almost like this like desire to throw wrenches into things, like it's too good to be true. There's still like, it's almost like what I'm getting is that sometimes people can't function without anxiety, and I get like pressure-induced deadline. Like we need something in order to get us to mobilize, and that can be true in many cases. That's certainly true for me, but we should be able to take the energy of like neutrality, or the energy of like life force, which is kind of by default love, not like marinating on a love energy or a positive vibration and letting it go, you know, into a space of like manic untetheredness, but the deliberate and actionable channeling of that energy into what it is we want to do, without having like the fire lit under you of anxiety, because of what I was talking about in a video the other day about the world programming us into just like only functioning purely on cortisol and adrenaline and stress chemicals, not being able to have a regulated nervous system. I mean, just by nature of having technology in our lives, they can document that people do not go into as deep of a sleep as they used to. A lot of people, I know that I do, and I've shared that I do, but a lot of people suffer from insomnia, or a lot of people are just chronically tired, and that's because the quality of our sleeps aren't as good as they used to be. And I do attribute that to the presence of technology, and also just like the invasion of, you know, light pollution, ambient light, all these different things. But a lot of it has to do with our brain's ability to get into the proper brainwave state. Those low, deep, slow vibrations of delta or theta wave forms where deep dreaming and REM cycles can happen. And those are the types of cycles that you need to get into if you're going to wake up and feel rested. And a lot of people are deprived of that. So I'm pulling cards now. That was my introduction. What I thought was really weird one time is that I went back to like one of the first videos that I posted, and YouTube had on its own divided it into like sections, and like when I was scrubbing through it or like panning through it with the time slider, it would like give each chapter a title that was very well chosen. I was like, I'm not mad about this. This seems good. But I don't think it has done that anymore. I can't deal with the repetitiveness of these cards coming out. I've got the Seven of Swords, the Seven of Cups, and the King of Swords. So yeah, I mean, I'm continuing to see a need to, we're just healing right now, which is nice. Never not healing. No one's ever going to be, you know, perfectly healed. You don't need to be perfectly healed to start a project or a relationship. A Page of Cups, as I say, that comes out, which is an offering of love. Four of Swords is healing and deep rest. And it's weird that I can't see what it looks like, but I'm trusting that you can see the card. As we heal, the way that we see the world changes. Yeah, this has to do with not Akashic integration of past lives, but the integration of our own energy from our own life. When you heal in the present moment, it's like, it like flickers back throughout all the things you've experienced, and you see those things differently as well. You kind of just have to let that happen. And with that, I'm getting this idea around like you cannot, things will always have been able to have been different. Things will always have been able to have been different, but they're not. They went the way that they went. And once we can accept that, we can move forward. The minute you accept that, everything transforms. Because you take all of, the Empress. We take all of our power back in the present moment. And if anybody's ever kind of sitting around being like, fuck this traffic, fuck this flickering light bulb, fuck that person, this whole thing, like I've messed it up, this isn't good, I don't like this, I don't feel good, I don't have what I need. What is this? Three of Wands. Yeah, looking out on, no, I'm not gonna get to it yet, but you're abandoning your ability to be able to move forward, because what you're doing, if you strip off the labels of like beingness, the universe sees your energetic presence as like, no, not good, not working, you know, low vibrational. It's not a clear avenue for more things, mobility, good things to come through you, to come into you. It's not a very good place to change that situation. That is how people who are stuck in ruts, and I've talked about water shaping the land, moving through the same channels repeatedly, you know, carving out rutted, deeply rooted habits and things. Not even to be like, it's okay, but the moment you can accept that that's the case for anything in your life, then you can change it. And I've talked about this before too. That's just far too many. That's just far too many. I do want a few more. The minute that you can accept that that's the case, then you're able to start changing the narrative. And I was saying, I've talked about it before, because you have to basically put on the brakes. Like if you're going to turn a car around, if you're going to go in a different direction, you can't just skip in time and be driving in a different direction. There's a process that has to ensue in order for you to steer the vehicle in a different direction. And it would be, you know, a changing of gears, putting it in reverse, perhaps a 3-point turn or a multi-point turn if you're in a tight, that's also too many. That's also too many, but I do want to show the sun. Okay, for now, that's gonna be good. I got a lot of stuff here. How many cards did I pull? I don't do like tarot reading spreads. I don't do Celtic Cross or any of the, I don't really even know what any of that is. I just like the cards as, what's really cool about cards is that you could have a deck of cards that say anything at all on them. And you're just using them to shuffle through and help use the energy of what comes out to, you know, support or participate in messages that you're working with. Not to say that I don't like or follow or have interest in people that do that, but that's simply not my training or education. I'm incredibly self-taught, and maybe I will do that one day, but okay. Yeah, so yesterday I talked about being able to take emotions and put them up into a space of workshopping them in a daydreamy manner, kind of seeing it, weird analogy. If you've ever gone to like Texas Roadhouse, they have an appetizer called the Bloomin' Onion, and it's like a multi-petal, it looks like a lotus. Looks like this. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick this up, but I have a lotus crown on my lion tattoo. Okay, the Bloomin' Onion. If you let the emotional ball, this tightly wound thing that you can't, right? Sometimes we avoid our emotions because we can't tell what they are, perhaps. And if you put it into this space where it can like unfurl, like the Bloomin' Onion, excuse me, then you can kind of, as you would eat the Bloomin' Onion, right? You take off little petals of it and you dip them in butter sauce and then you eat them one by one. You can do that with these different parts of these emotional packages or these seemingly once dense objects. And then you alchemize them into some type of expression, not because you have to, but because it helps you release them. Right? If you're having an issue with a person and you write them a letter and then you burn it, you've taken it outside of yourself. And so this can do that. And I'm seeing this card as this pairing, in fact, which came out the other day, the same two, 7-7, as an avoidance to doing that. This card being like the overwhelm of that not being a natural process, the need to even like look at all of these cups and, you know, the illusion within that, because it makes you, what I said before, when you look at how things are and have been in a new light, it changes the way you feel about how things have been. And this is like the card, how I've been describing it for a couple weeks is like this desire to edit our own narratives to protect ourselves. But he isn't going to do that because there's an ability to be, I've called the King of Swords the King of Truth and Clarity before. I stand by that. He's got like a no bullshit attitude about his own prospects, but also, you know, his subordinates. So the people that he's responsible for, the things that he's responsible for, and that would be on a personal level, how this translates in the energy. Go lie down. Go on. That would be everything you do and say. You're responsible for yourself. And the Page of Cups within this and the Four of Swords, sometimes in tarot decks this is shown as the knight lying down in almost like in a Disney movie when the princess is like dead or sleeping or like in a coma and the prince comes and kisses her so she wakes up. He's pictured in one of those bed coffin things. with the swords around him in this meditative state. I'll be really, I don't know, there's no way I'm not in the screen, but I'll be sad if I'm not. Here you can't quite tell that he's resting and that he's in this like meditative state, but right, it's a knight. There are swords here, but he's not using them at all. He's just resting. In fact, I'm gonna get from the book, show me 4 of Swords. Contemplation, meditation, relaxation, rest. Medieval knights aren't known for those things, right? But that's why it's like pattern interruption. This isn't gonna do any good. These aren't evolved, like, you know, mature energies as this is. And the Page of Cups is being able to, like, I almost see these two as going together, right? As I hold them up, she's giving the cup to him, as in like, here, take your bloomin' onion, watch it unfurl. There is nothing to be afraid of within this because of something I said yesterday, I think in the reading, where it's like, we don't really know what we're so afraid of. These types of repression that happen over the course of a person's life happen naturally because people can be taken advantage of. Good people get taken advantage of all the time. And when that happens too much, it can shut them down and close them off. And I would argue that everybody's experienced that to some degree, some more than others. And I'm gonna get a clarifier for the 10 of Wands and the 3 of Wands here. Of course, I have the Empress, which just shows that like there's a lot of, well, I mean, it's like, hi, sweetheart. Gosh, I'm back to work now, so now, like, just, I don't know how it's gonna work to make readings. They're always gonna interrupt me, but that's not really a problem because they're part of my vibe. What was I gonna say? The Empress is the manifestation of creation, the mother. She invites you to reconnect with the natural world and nourish what we have created. So it's just abundance, nature, pleasure, luxury. And what I said before is like, even if you don't have those things now, there's an ability to tap into that energy because it's a current, it's a currency. The firefly, if you go to chase it, they're gonna flee. If you sit there and you can, you know, you don't actually have to get them in a jar to enjoy them. You can see them from your porch, from your window, and be like, wow, pretty. There's light, there's hope, there's whatever, you know, all these different meanings from different parties for the firefly, the romantic element to it. For me, it's about like patience and knowing that there's almost a juvenile sense. I was teaching myself this stuff when I was so thirsty for progress. I was so impatient. I wanted so badly for my life and my situation to change. And the teaching of this one and why it was adopted to me. I mean, I think even back then I was channeling, to be honest. I've always been channeling information, and I said this in a different video. Like if I go through photos of myself when I was a child and I would draw on myself, there's a lot of symbols and stuff that mean things, alchemical symbols, or even like different just things that I put in my artwork today, as well as runes and characters from other languages and like lost languages perhaps. But what I was being taught, or what I was bringing in at the time of the firefly, was like your radical, your like almost desperate longing to change your situation is just this, you know, it's an indication for you that you need to like counteract that. That's not the energy that brings in this. Right before she was sitting here, completely self-satisfied and able to be in this like beautiful, abundant energy, she wasn't like longing and desperate. You know, maybe she was long ago, but you have to take a lot of steps to be able to know that divine timing is at work in all things. So my clarifier card, I'm going to cut the deck for the 10 of Wands and the 3 of Wands. Again, being able to rest the burdens down. You don't have to take everything with you from the past that you've carried. Sometimes we tell people about ourselves. If somebody asks you who you are, what do you tell them, right? There are certain parts of our narrative that we simply don't have to tell anybody ever again if we don't want to. That's been a big thing for me to learn throughout the course of my life. Like, why do I talk about myself in terms, you know, that I wouldn't want to be perceived in? It seems like, well, I don't know, why would you? It's much more common than you think. And I said this before the other day about, like, life isn't so that other people can understand you. Sometimes we want to say certain things so that people get us, because that's how we get ourselves. Almost like it justifies why we are the way that we are. But then it takes away your agency to be able to change that part of yourself in some way. So you don't have to take all of the heaviness into the new chapter. In fact, he could put them down altogether. He's only decided to take 3. Maybe these 2 wands have some magical powers. There's some wisdom in these lessons from the past that he does want to take on his journey, but he would not have been able to. Do you see how he's on low lands here? He's in like the flatlands. He's up high. He had to put, it's not the same guy, but we're pretending it is because it's all the same. It's all about, you know, you and us and the inner world and the outer world, holographic universe of the self. We are all mirrors of the same expression of a journey, but you know what I'm saying. He had to put down some of the aspects of what he's been valuing in order to be able to get up to this place of being able to look out and strategize and make new plans and see new things, almost for the first time, okay? This also, oh, this is just cool. I just love the tarot because it never exhausts itself, you know? Like sometimes I'm like pointing out little details in the cards that I've never seen before. But there's really infinite combinations of these cards, especially when you take it into like, what's the transit right now with all the other stuff that's happening. What I want to say is that in both of these cards, there's a river. It is almost as if in this one, from the way that he's framed in the image, it looks like he's almost walking through it, you know? And I'm seeing like, although they're not pictured, like his boots would be wet, and like, that's not a good feeling. If you've ever had to wade through waters with, I'm thinking about this time when I first got to Nepal. I got stuck in a monsoon, and I was like up to knee deep water, and like, they don't really get rid of their trash there. They just burn it in piles on the street. And it's kind of this like sick, disgusting smell when they burn piles of trash. But what's funny is that like, if I smelled that now, if I were to go to Asia and smell it, it would like, it's such a, like, I love that smell, but that's not the point. There's a lot of really gross stuff in a street flood in monsoon season in Southeast Asia, like nastiness, like you're wading through like shit, and it's just disgusting. So anyway, I'm just seeing, you know, the feeling of being bogged down and having full, you know, what, like this it's bogged down energy. And he took those dirty boots off. He's barefoot and he's looking out over the river. Here it's narrow, it's swamplands. There's no higher point of view. He's in those lowlands, whereas here he's unburdened himself to be able to survey them and see it for what it really is and where it's really going. That's really beautiful. I like it. I like it on so many levels. And I love the Hermit too. I wanted to point something out, okay? So here's the Hermit again. I pulled the Hermit yesterday, twice in fact. In his lantern, there's a little star, okay? And I've talked about the star card a lot as being like a thing or a hope, or, you know, your pure potential power as a human to be able to manifest quite literally anything. I mean, I think this is why I know that people are a little bit pessimistic, feeling bleak about the future of humans. I don't really think we're going to die out in the next few hundred to thousand years. I think we're going to go on for a very long time. And I see people's abilities to become highly telepathic and like magical, like teleportation, all these things. By the way, I fully believe / know that the government and like higher up levels of development of like unreleased technology, they already have the ability to time travel and teleport. Totally. I've watched a lot of interviews of people from like the Air Force and like coming forward to talk about their experiences and special programs and sects of the government. There's an energetic vibration. I've talked about this in former videos. There's an energetic vibration to phoniness and inauthenticity. And there's a lot of people that are speaking about things in order to protect their own lives and like whistleblowing stuff, whatever. But I think that we are going to, or souls will be able to reincarnate to Earth for a very long time. I don't think it's going to go into a dormancy of like, you know, the meteor shower that ended the Cretaceous period and everything died out except for like crocodiles and sharks, and then there was no life on Earth for like a few million years. I don't think that's about to happen, even though I think that some people think that. And my point is, humans, the star card, we have this unlimited ability to pull matter through our vessel and make things. That's what living is. Everybody's manifesting. I think it gets a bad rap because it's very like hippy dippy gratitude journal, but it is a energetic process. Nature is constantly manifesting new life, but it's locked into these, you know, seasons and these cycles that show us of its great, you know, there's, right, it's those are algorithms and codes the same way that we are algorithmically coded within the instructions that are written in our DNA. And so the star card could represent anything that's giving you hope or allowing you to be able to free up the flow of energy within yourself to keep things moving through. I got told real quick to look at my shirt. There is a little star in the middle of this. It says blind faith. I used to work at an athletic club. I was like the front desk girl and like washed the towels and stuff. And there was this one guy, he was probably like, you know, I opened the club, so I'd have to get up at like 3 a.m. and get in real early because it opened at 5. And who goes to the gym at 5 a.m? A lot of elderly people, actually. It was kind of this small town upscale gym. It wasn't a chain or anything. It was just like a privately owned little athletic club. Anyway, he was in his late 70s and he always wore this shirt to work out. And I was like, I just love that shirt. Such a cool shirt. And he ended up giving it to me. And I cherish it. Such a way of, you know, it makes me think, and I'm not getting totally distracted. I am going to come back to this, but whenever I get distracted, I'm like, it's for a reason. There's going to be a message or some ounce of meaning in some part of this for someone, but right, you don't have to control the way that your day goes or how things go. I had things to do because I worked at an athletic club and I had towels to fold or whatever it may be, but I never missed a conversation with one of those people because that was part of their day, and it therefore became like part of my job. I would sit there and they would all come in and scan their little memberships and be like, and how is she doing today? And I was like, you know, we'd chat, and that's part of what can make a mundane life that's like an hourglass that keeps getting turned back over. You know, it runs out and then the new day starts and the sands run out. Every single day has the potential to be very, very unique and special if you allow it to be like consciously led, because I never had the same conversations with any of them. Yeah, I told him I liked his shirt a lot. I was never expecting him to give it to me. But anyway, I'm going to bring it all the way back. Okay, so the star card is about what motivates you. And a lot of us actually can't suspend disbelief enough to be like, I can win a Nobel Peace Prize. I can, huge dreams, right? You're allowed to have the biggest dreams that you want to have. I think it's a shame that people are like, don't tell kids that stuff anymore because you're lying. No, I say continue to help the kids dream really big. I think it's healthy for them to do that. Even if life doesn't go to plan. This is the Nelson Mandela quote that I said the other day. Winners are the daydreamers who never gave up. How beautiful is that? It goes back to what I was saying. This like desperation energy of not knowing how to manage things and really just wanting things to change because you can't stomach them or process, it's not going to get you into this energy. You have to be able to cling to the ability to attach your energy to something that doesn't yet exist. That is what the daydreaming is. And the healing process that we're going through right now is just the ability of releasing the stuff that's been repressed to be able to do that. I can't believe the bloomin' onion is what came up as far as like an ability to imagine that, but it is what it is, and I actually like those. I kind of want one right now. So what I wanted to point out, this is taking a long time. What is inside the hermit's light cage, his little lantern, light cage, is the star. It could be represented by a flame. It's not, it's the star. And what's on top of her crown, because I can't see how this is looking in the thing, I just want to make sure that it's picking it up in the video. Her crown is adorned with multiple stars. What does that mean? Each one of her stars was once a guiding light that got her through a dark period of isolation. Again, these aren't separate people. It's all part of the same journey. Even though these guys look more similar than these two, it's all part of being able to go through different seasons and shifts and ways of being in your own life to be able to move from one state to the next. So it is as if she's been in these positions and used everything individual goals, right, to get through different parts of the challenges that she's confronted with. Because sometimes if you take actually, I don't even think we're able to kind of like balance or conceive of how beautiful the future could really be if we try to envision it in totality. Now, like, since I was very, very young, I had a feeling inside of me and I was like, this is what I want. And I didn't even know how to talk about it, but I remember being maybe 7 and I got this new diary. I've always been like really into recording. I've kept like tons and tons of diaries over time. I don't have this one, which I'm very sad about, but this one diary, it had hot pink fur. It was just like furry and like the brightest pink you could ever imagine. This diary made me feel that way. Like this ultimate, like best life ever, best feeling ever, paradise. Like I still don't know how to put it into words, but if I were to try, it's the connection that I have to that like light energy that's like this rainbow iridescent. It's the beautiful matter of the universe. Okay, and things, objects, things, material things can still make me feel that way. Like sometimes if I see a really cute article of clothing, I'm like, that will help me feel more like my authentic self. I think this kind of feeling, everybody can conjure it. But my point is, because it's so ineffable, it's like this fluid amoeba of a dream, of a thing. And you could be like, what are you even talking about? I don't know, my ability to live a life where I feel good about myself and I'm a good person in the world. It's taken shape over time. And so what I'm getting at is that you don't just have all of the dreams as part of the flower crown all together. You have to kind of take one star at a time, one bit of inspiration, one bit of hope, one goal, one step, one thing at a time, excuse me, to light your way. There's not even much room in the lantern for more stars, right? Perhaps it would catch fire if there was, too much trying too much ambition packaged into one amount of the journey, because that would lead to burnout, literally, right? It would combust. And so it talks about the need for moderation, which I believe is what this is talking about as well, with the Four of Swords and rest and meditation. So that's really lovely. Super duper lovely. What is it, Mutt? I'd like a... By the way, I believe that Mercury has moved into Leo. It wasn't Cancer, but Mercury has a quicker, faster orbit than a lot of the planets that are, like Pluto, Saturn. Those take much longer to come around. Mercury in Leo is a lot more, Mercury in Cancer being kind of like about the emotions and the feelings. Leo's a very extroverted, outgoing, center of attention type sign. So Mercury being about communication and idea. I see this as kind of like, and I love the transition of Mercury into Leo season, because it kind of takes emotions and it puts them into like, there's an ability now to have fun with them or like perform them. And I don't mean in a disingenuous manner, but like quite the opposite, right? Because Leos are very confident people. Leos are very confident people. My Venus sign is in Leo. Venus rules the Empress. It's about like love and sexuality and passion. Marilyn Monroe's Venus was in Leo. Fun fact. So I'd like clarification on the stuckness, right? The things that, there's so much more, not good than bad, because that's not fair to put it that simply, but there's more progress than there is stuckness at this point, and that's so amazing, because it's just, patience, right? The Firefly. Sometimes you don't have to work as hard as you think you do in order to let things change. Sometimes working hard means not working anymore at all. Sometimes it's harder for people to rest, to give the mind a break, than it is for people to, all right, do you want to, detach and give themselves the space that they need in order to, I was gonna say, you can tell that we're moving forward because there's no Three of Swords, because there's no Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords came out to just remind me that it's not a one and done type thing, right? What I was gonna say the other day, I was thinking what I was gonna say just now is that I was thinking about my trip home from Italy and how good I was feeling, and then how south everything went and how hard it was for me to tolerate the experiences that I had in trying to get home. And it's like, again, you're never going to be able to control the external environment or what happens around you or other people. Just because you're healing and moving forward and you have good ideas and you feel centered doesn't mean your life is perfect and you manifest little bunny rabbits and rainbows everywhere. It means that when those things happen, you handle them with calmness and grace, and you're not as triggerable and reactive. It doesn't mean that you don't feel those things. It just means that you're able to transmute them immediately, so that they don't start, affecting your body. You're allowed to be like, I'm like really upset, and it's valid, and I can empathize with this person, but also not block my throat chakra and say what I need to say. And I can move. I don't have to, manage their discomfort. There's this ability to navigate with the energies in this really like real time way. Okay. When you're really in tune with yourself, then you can be in tune with everything around you and move through the world with more grace, but it's not about not having problems. And what I was thinking is like, it's almost like all of that chaos with my travel went on because I was like, this is a test. Not like we need to be tested. I don't really think the universe tests you, but life tends to, like over time, through time. And I was like, it's good for me to be able to practice releasing things immediately as they come up. Clarifier for the Ten of Swords, the Five of Pentacles. Okay. Yeah, so I guess that there is some like, regret or sadness and like feelings of lack still about things that haven't panned out for us, or things that we are not able to work on anymore is what I'm getting. Because the Five of Pentacles being like materiality. I've always seen this card as like a parent and a child. This one, parent and a child, and like the Five Pentacles almost resemble like stained glass. Okay, so like outside a church on Christmas, and like they don't have a place to go and they don't have anything like to eat, and it's like a sense of desperation. When you don't have anything, you cannot create anything is basic, like, and that's not necessarily the case, because of the star. If you see in the center of the pentacle, there are stars. In some ways, it's the same star that lives in the lantern and on the crown once she's been able to assemble multiple aspects of dreams, multiple steps, baby steps that have led to something. There's still an ability to see, I'm sorry, I confused myself for a minute. The Five of Pentacles, you have to look a little bit deeper. There's more than what meets the eye. The physical world is not all that there is, okay? So the Pentacles represent the physical material world. They're failing to remember that for all of the things that they don't have, they're able to replace that with some type of idea or dream. It's the opposite. It's the converse side of what you want. And this goes back to what I was saying with like that feeling that I used to have when I was younger, when I brought the Firefly, or when I got this idea about like, it's telling you that feeling of not having what it is that you want is actually your teacher. It's telling you in specificity what you do want. When you know what you don't have and what you don't want, you can start to answer the call of your own desire, basically, and outline what you do want. So this kind of feels like a tight loop of a dead end. I'll take one more clarifier for it, please. The situation. Ah, yes. It's Temperance. All right, away with you. We don't need to look at these cards anymore. It's Temperance. And I want to highlight this, even though this is the Empress, which Empress, ultimate stability and abundance and magic and luxury and fertility and all of the beautiful life-giving things. This card, Temperance, has more gold on it than any of the other ones. And I think that's really cool. Temperance appears when there is a need for balance of opposing areas in your life. You are being asked to be patient and re-examine priorities in your life that are in disharmony. Temperance assists us by pointing you to life's meaning and purpose. Yeah, I mean, I've said this. It's right on par. It's like it's saying to us, and with moderation, like a need for patience and moderation through this hibernation, see too how both the King of Swords and the Four of Swords, they're both like holding the sword. The sword is here. The sword is in the center. He's come out of like the comatose pod of isolation though. He's like got the crow on his shoulder and he's ready to send it off to the foreign land and transmit a message and, you know, be engaged in his life, whereas he is still waiting. And yeah, I mean, the Firefly, patience, not needing to chase. And I've talked about this before, but the water that goes back and forth between the temperance cups. When you think that you can't access what it is that you need within yourself and from where you're at, then you're betraying your own timeline. Give me a second to cough. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It kind of, yeah, it goes back to what I was saying with like, if all you see when you look around you is pessimistic thoughts about things, I mean, that's telling you how you feel about yourself. Other people tend to view you in a way that reflects how you view yourself too. So a lot of things can be changed within your life when you change the inner state of your own mind and the quality of your own mind. And she is just sifting through these emotional waters with great ease. And in this continuous manner where she knows that there's never going to be an end game to this loop of patience, right? If there's an infinity loop, you're never at the start, you're never at the end. Patience, if you think about things being timeless, ceases to exist because you're not really waiting for anything to happen. You're living, you're being, you know? Your life isn't happening to you. You are creating your life. The world is happening around you, but the way that you show up in all of that is very open-ended. We also have Seven of Pentacles and King of Wands. Seven of Pentacles is about putting in hard work, and that's excellent because it's a step up from Five of Pentacles. They're not doing any work. They're basically just like, we are in poverty and we are not doing well. And he's like, there's also an exhaustedness with this because there's a lot of work that's already been put in, but there's more work to be done, right? 7 is not quite 10, but it's still well on its way. You're in like the second half of being able to move things along. Hey, you, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go lie down. And the King of Wands came out with the Seven of Pentacles, okay? So I do like this. The King of Wands is, I'm going to read. Influence, respect, leader, maturity. Yeah, I mean, he's very action-oriented. I think the King of Swords is too, but I also see the King of Swords as somebody who's more mental and like gives orders. The King of Wands will do things himself. And that's why it's a good pairing with the Seven of Pentacles, because this is a time where you need to do things yourself. What I'm getting is the scene from Harry Potter where it's the prisoner of Azkaban and he's used the time turner and he thought he saw his dad cast the Patronus and he's there with Hermione and he's like, any minute, Hermione, my dad's gonna, I'm not even gonna try to do the accent, but, and then he realizes that he was the one that had to step out and cast the Patronus himself. That's sort of the moment that we're in. But there's this beauty within the energy right now with what I said yesterday. I know that Mercury has moved into Leo, but the dreaminess that I talked about with Neptune and whatever Pluto's doing, I know that Pluto's part of it, but I don't know exactly what the transit is. All of that is saying like, hey, there's no rush. It's going to be okay. Now, of course, the extent of your own suffering, your own stuckness, your own, right, the pace of your life. Sometimes we think that things are really out of control and that we have to kind of avoid them. If you can't sit with any form of discomfort, then you can't start to change the patterning. Okay, I also just got a message about what I was saying before with a changing of vantage points, okay, from being like soggy boots dredging through this swamp water to be able to surveying the water, likening this to what I've talked about in the past with water that moves through channels and creates ruts. Okay, this is the grand river of life, okay? And with water in the tarot representing emotions, this is like the great chasm of, I'm almost seeing it as like the Akashic records, okay? So like an archive of everything that anyone has ever thought, done, or said, everything that will be, everything that, you know, has been. This guy, right? He's done. There's no more time to be like self-pitying. It's really an old way of being. It doesn't really yield any results. This is the water's edge, okay? But he's not surveying it. He's not walking through it. He's out of the game. This guy's moving through it, but he's so burdened, you know, he can't see it for what it is. It's flooding him. It's overwhelming him. The waters of life, the path of life, the journey of life is overwhelming him. This guy sees it as a magnificent chasm, and he can choose his route through it and around it. But my point is, we have our own channels that we move our energy through, and we can choose to do that in various ways. But life also has its own current. And we can get swept up in that. We can get, you know, too deeply entrenched in that. And then you see yourself as not being separate from it. And you're not separate from it. But you can choose to take different vantage points, changing your perspective on it. And here, I'm getting what I said yesterday. I was talking about an egg beater and the currents of abundance. And I had this like vision, basically. I wouldn't call it a vision. It was more of this kind of like understanding of what wealth energy is outside my window. It was almost like this torrent of like just me seeing all these different things that carry wealth currency, like stocks and cryptocurrency and actual tangible money and like foreign currency, and like there's so much wealth in the world, and a lot of it is wrongly distributed. But I was seeing this ability to kind of like key into that, use red root chakra energy from myself, right, to like whip it into this torrent to egg beater, waffles, whatever. I don't know how to explain it again. It sounds crazy, but there was something to it in order to create a, you know, a twisting vortex that could be in alignment with the things that I'm trying to create. This card is like this with this chasm of life, right? This river of life force energy. It doesn't mean that you don't have an ability to work with it, okay? When the Page of Cups, this is emotion. This is the ability to understand and offer to somebody else what it is that you're feeling and you're thinking. The water that is in this river in the background, I don't know if this will pick up on camera. It's like these waves are getting like whipped up, like the white caps, they look real fluffy like clouds, but she's on the rock at the edge and the water is like coming up because she's able, it's like a new expression of water. It's a new way of using the emotional quantity that resides inside of a person. And I also see this the scarf is almost defying gravity, right? It's like there's a wind blowing. This isn't hanging on her body the way that this garment is, or the way that this garment is. It's a fluff in kind of a timeless suspension. And it's pictured as the waves are too, like they're rearing up to crash. Ooh, this is good. This is good because yesterday I described how emotions can arrive within us like a wave or a tsunami. It doesn't unfurl like a bloomin' onion that has multiple petals, and you can be like, okay, I see why I felt these different layers, you know, or tiers or petals of what I felt. That's not how they happen within us. They rear up like a tsunami. I love it when this type of stuff happens because I'm like, there's a lot of circular messages in the way that these cards work, and my own reading of them happens so that things can come full circle like that. No, sir. Kitty, can you get that? Can you get that, please? Can you get that? Can you get that? There's an ant on my carpet. I've never been good with critter management because I don't really want to engage with them at all. I don't want to harm them. But I don't really like them in the house, you know, who wants bugs in their house? My cat is not really very helpful. She likes to babysit them and she'll follow them around and watch them, but I don't really want her to kill them either. I just if I said this was going to be a short reading, I take it back. At this point, if you've watched any number of my videos, you know that that's not the case. Now, I can't even make my titles be short. I'll never just try to burn up time talking though. Like I always really mean all of the things that I say, and I always really want all of the things that I say to be of value. All right. Top of the deck and then bottom of the deck and then no more. We'll take you too. And we'll take you too. I had a dream. I forgot about it, but I'm remembering it. Excuse me. Okay, so what did I get? The Page of Swords and the Two of Swords. And what I'm seeing as they came out together, this was top of the deck and bottom of the deck. This page is this same girl, but she's finally cut herself free from the stalemate of indecision, and she's put her hair up into a braid because it's more of like an active, adventuresome state of being. And again, with like a beginner's mindset, but there's a sophistication here because there's a lot of hard work that's already been done. And there's a lot of, leadership and authority with the cards that came out yesterday that I pulled from this deck. The authority card came out and it represents the Emperor. There is Emperor energy here. The Emperor being like a healed male component to an Empress because there's two kings. And what the Empress and the Emperor are is a combination of all the King and Queen energies. Because the King and Queen energies are delineated by suit or element. So they each have their own forte or personality or leaning, okay? And so this being swords, it's like the journey, right, through, again, this like mental thing of being like, I'm not going to be imprisoned by my own thoughts around a certain issue or situation. There's an ability to cut ourselves free and move forward with that. What came out underneath that was the Artist. So again, this energy was here a few weeks ago around like drafting and creating ideas for new things that aren't not just drafts, but the ability to sit in one place and dedicate yourself, again with patience and temperance and the Firefly that I've been talking about. Dedicate yourself to using your eyes to trace something so carefully that you might be able to replicate it and draw it. Sometimes if so when I was in school, there's a lot of foundational art classes that you have to do that are just like drawing still lives, and there's not just easy stuff. They'll put like funny little, what are they called? Decanters and like genie's lamps and like glass things, like all of these really tricky observational drawings in the still lives. It's not easy for anybody, even an artist. You have to be really patient, and you really have to try to see what you're looking at. You have to look at it so much that you forget what it is at all. This is why people say that drawing ears and noses and hands is so hard. Because when someone tries to draw a nose, they want to draw a nose, and they have an idea about a nose and that it has this, there's a bridge and a tip and the two nostril holes. That's not really what it is. These ends up, the different facets of the nose as it's structured, they end up just being, a shadow or a difference in tone. You have to remove your identification of an object to be able to render it, because your preconceived idea about how a hand is supposed to be, it's not going to look like that, you know, it's you can't just draw fingers like lines, like a glove. There's so much complexity to really witnessing something and being able to replicate it. And so I'm seeing all of this as like a seriousness. There's a seriousness here. And I've also talked about, I mean, what I started my day, or not my day, I'm sorry, I'm tired. My reading off by saying is love and anxiety were like floating through for me today. I was just picking up on them. And I was also saying that if I'm picking up on certain things that I'm like, I wanna talk about that, then there's a reason for that. So I hope that this is resonating with somebody. And there's this ability to make a bit of a stronger commitment to the ability to look at things, right? Even if it's exhausting and we've already put work in towards it, and render more finely. And what's backing that up? What's wild is that I was falling asleep the other night, I don't know, 4 or 5 nights ago. I wasn't home. I was at my summer house with my family, and I was sleeping. And I was in kind of a subliminal half state of sleep and awakeness, and I was thinking like, I know it's silly, but I was like, am I bad at shuffling? I was kind of like in my thoughts around like, maybe I am bad at shuffling. Maybe these cards aren't, you know, but I was seeing the cards shuffle. I was thinking these conscious thoughts, but I was also kind of visioning in this half sleep state. I was seeing the cards that have been coming out a lot, you know, moving before my eyes. And then this card popped out. This is the card of Cancer. It's the Major Arcana card for Cancer. I'm a Cancer. And I forgot that this card existed because it has not come out in one of my readings since I started my channel. Or I mean, I started this channel in January, and then I posted a bunch of videos that I took in 2021 and 2022. But I kind of thought like, maybe I'll just start using it, the YouTube channel, when I go to Italy. And that's what I did. And I hope that I don't stop using it because it's a good way for me to process energy. It helps me feel a little bit more sane and connect with the stuff that runs through my mind every day. I said this in one of my, probably many of my earlier videos, but I'm always talking to myself and processing this stuff anyway. So to set aside time to be able to like deliberately do teachings and messages around it, it's healthy for me. It's healthy for me. So in my little mind dream state, I saw the Chariot come out, and I was like, oh my gosh, that card is in there. And if I keep shuffling, it will come out. I'm not bad at shuffling. There's just been themes. There's just been themes. The cards that want to come out do. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a full steam ahead type thing. It's a really lovely balance, because with Temperance, there's patience. There's a certain amount of dedication that like can't be rushed when you're trying to draw or render something. And by that, I mean the new chapter. Just keep it really basic. The new chapter of your life and whatever else is in it, right? All these pentacles are stacking up again with the symbology of like a star being on the pentacle. All of these material gains, all of these little steps, all of these very real things in your waking life that you do, they come from an idea or a spark of inspiration or something that's guiding you forward. And the Chariot is really well supportive of that. And it says that there is some type of, because it's Major Arcana energy, which is bigger theme than any of the minor arcana, Pentacles, Swords, Wands, or Cups energies. There's something beyond that's greater that's like carrying this through. The Chariot represents willpower, determination, and self-assurance in any challenge. The Charioteer reminds us to be steadfast and exude self-control in situations that arise in order to ensure victory over any obstacle. Conquest, control, victory, and motivation. Yeah, so like things moving forward with a sense of dedication and control and carefulness. Excuse me. I want to clarify bottom of the deck. Ugh. Sick of it. And top of the deck. Okay, say no more. The Devil's here again. I said I want a clarifier for the Chariot, okay? So, I mean, there's still this like, and I'm getting temperance again with the moderation and the Four of Swords, right? We don't know how to just sit and be okay with things, because then there's this existential angst and pressure to be like, I can't just take my happiness and squander it away on all my vices. I can't just, you know, have free time and just party and let the day run out. Sure you can. Sure you can, but then you're not going to add to the pile. You're not going to develop or draft anything. You need to be able to pump the brakes of kind of like any type of exhilarated energy to be able to have long-lasting, sustained happiness or stability. It's a hard lesson for anybody to learn. The devil shows you that problems that constrain you are an illusion. The binding is of your own. It is time to ask yourself what it is that holds you back. And are you truly helpless to change the situation? Addiction, obsession, control, materialism. Yeah, I'm being brought to the Ouroboros again. That frames the devil card. And also there are two figures in the foreground of this. There's this woman who's like kind of semi-conscious, and this guy that's not really looking at her. I see them as being disconnected from each other, and I see that as being a manifested disconnect of, you know, the yin and yang within one person and oneself, not really having this harmonized, healed ability to be in an actionable, like controlled, confident state, but also an emotive, intuitive state. You have to be able to kind of have both. He's stronger than both of them. Those are just side characters in the devil's story. But when you're able to realize that you might have to sacrifice some things and release some things out of your picture the way that it is. But a lot of the things that we keep around us or we lean on, they are simply things that keep us from moving forward in the directions that we really want to move in. We just maybe haven't known a life without them for a very long time. This is here as well. Justice. This card's been coming up a lot. Hopefully that works. I know it. I actually have a tarot card holder upstairs, but for some reason I haven't been working upstairs since I got back. The Justice card reveals that an outcome will be determined from the decisions you have made. It is a reminder that future actions can be changed by the lessons you learn in the present. It is an indicator that a decision needs to be made. Yeah, I mean, so I see that as being the decision around like release. Really, it's just taking a little bit of personal accountability and giving yourself the agency to be able to say, like, you know what, I'm better than this in some way. And it's not to be self-punishing. You don't have to get down on yourself. You are changing your vantage point on that river of life to be able to look at it and say, I can move with these waters. I don't have to be bogged down by these waters. I don't need unhealthy things in my circle, in myself, to be able to survive this, right? To be able to survive life. That's what vices are. They're coping mechanisms. They're like survival skills. But they're actually killing us faster in most cases. Or it feels that way because a lot of people who live their life with vices get to the end of their life and they're like, where did it all go? Life is short, you know, they have regrets. Knight of Pentacles and Knight of Wands, okay? So this again to me speaks of that need for moderation. It's a big shift, it's a big overhaul, the one that's happening this summer in the collective energies. Okay, so the Knight of Wands can move a little bit too quickly. The Knight of Pentacles can move a little bit too slowly. Where do we come in between? The Queen of Swords is here to be like, okay, boys, I'll settle this. we're just going to move with decisive action. She doesn't move too quickly or too slowly. She has clarity about things, and so she just gets things done. The Fool is also here to be like, and there's no fear around it because he doesn't have the wounding of somebody who's been on a lot of journeys and gone through a lot of stuff to carry a jadedness that might prevent him from doing new things and taking leaps of faith. I like it. I like it, and I'm getting that feeling again. There's just like there's a lot of really beautiful, loving energy in the universe right now that can be tapped into. Oops. I'm sending it to you. Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about that for a second. You don't have to know anybody or want to just to spread and send love out. Maybe I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to do one angel answer oracle. So this is the portion of the reading where if you have a question that you want answered, it is not a question that needs to be answered in specificity, more or less a yes or no question that the angel answer oracle card will give you clarification on. Just one, because I'm sure if I had to guess, 58 minutes. I bet this is 58 minutes long right now. I'm so nosy, I have to know. Oh, it's an hour and 12 minutes. That's all right. I've realized that because I don't have any comments on and nobody's emailed me regarding the open call for like dialogue or debate about any of the things that I say in these videos, it means that I have zero feedback. And that means that I'm the only one who cares that the videos are long, except for the fact that maybe it'll inhibit the ability to grow the channel, but I'm not that concerned about that. I do genuinely want to be able to use this for the outlet that it needs to be, but basically I've given myself permission to be the long-winded voice that I am. Okay. Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. How nice is that? I mean, I guess it could go a few different ways, but I'd like to get one more clarifier because I feel like there's not a whole lot, there's not even a message in the book that says this because yes is, there's not really much more to say. It literally says, if you want a more detailed reply, you can ask additional questions and pull more cards. So I'm going to do that. Take action. Yes, take action. That's nice. I mean, there's that, you know, Knight of Wands, Knight of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, King of Wands, Chariot. All these things swirling around. I see there being this balancing out where there is the ability to simultaneously meditate, relax, give ourselves peace of mind, continue to kind of push the little snowballs down the hill and let them get bigger and not have to control that happening. And the evolution of velocity, picking up in pace is natural at this time. Okay, so this card says, the time has come to take action. Your angels are waiting for you to take the next step so that they can assist you along the path to your dreams. Do away with your procrastination and uncertainty, which is what the Devil card just said. In your heart, you know what to do. Get going. Whether you're focused upon career, relationships, or some other topic, the fulfillment of your wishes isn't going to just fall into your lap. You must actively be focused on the pursuit of what you want. That's nice. It's very nice. Okay. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you have a lovely evening.